Okay. Oh, God.
Police brutality, something that we all probably do not agree with. I know for a fact that if we see somebody else get shot, I guarantee we feel that pain. It's devastating. I don't like it myself, and it's terrifying. And then as we see in police brutality, you know, there's a lot of ways that our people, the U.S. citizens, are being abused by our fellow police officers as opposed to keep our city safe. As we see, what is police brutality? By Merriam-Webster states that police brutality is the use of any force exceeding that responsibly necessary to accomplish a lawful police purpose. So, you know, police officers say that, you know, we're doing this because, you know, it's the law, it's the purpose. If we see what a threat is and you're coming out towards us, it's our duty to shoot you. That's basically what one definition says. But really, by seeing how police brutality in our ratings in the U.S., you know, police brutality is really known for our hurts and how we contribute to others in hurting their lives. As we see here by our statistics by the Law Enforcement Bureau, that how 59% is physical, 15% is firearm, 12% is mixed, 9% is by taser, 3% is by chemical, and 2% is by K9. Now I'm going to pass it on to Miguel.
Okay, as you can see here, this is a poster of police brutality. There's many more ways of police brutality than just murder or cold-blooded murder, just shooting anybody. It comes in so many different ways, even in the smallest ways. And for example, one of them, this was stated by BuzzFeed.com back in September 4th, 2014, which was a few months ago. A man named LeVar Jones was pulled over by a North Carolina police officer named Sean Grubrick, and he stopped him over just a typical traffic stop. And when he approached his car, he was already acting kind of suspicious. Not the driver, but the police officer. Oh. And he asked for the man's ID. And while he was reaching for his license, he pulled out his gun and shot him point blank. So that was one story, and it just comes to show, and the one I'm going to tell you next is a little less graphic, I guess, which happened for a Make-A-Wish Foundation. An off-duty officer named Ronald Harris followed a Make-A-Wish member to an airport where he was supposed to deliver a bunch of goods, like, that they give out. And he was following this guy all the way to the airport, and he had over $1,000 and like gift cards and T-shirts and everything he was going to give out. Well, the off-duty officer tried to play it off by snatching the bag and walking away. And they stopped him, and he tried to play it off saying, "Oh, it was a mistake. I thought it was my bag or whatever." But he had no reason to be at the airport at all. So then, once that happened later on, he grabbed the bag and he just ran off. And then one of the members, he ended up headbutting one of the members of the Make-A-Wish Foundation just so he can try to get out with all that money and all those other valuable things that actually mean something to the Make-A-Wish people. And once he got arrested, he ended up escaping from his cop car, from the police car that he was in the back of. And then after that, they ended up suspending him with pay, and that's basically it. And now I'm going to pass it on to Eliza. Or no,
according to rawstory.com, there was a California Highway Patrol officer ended up assaulting a woman on video. He got caught for no apparent reason. Motorist David Diaz had his camera on his motorcycle, and on the 90-second clip, you can see that the woman was trying to avoid the police officer walking away while he was following her. He was trying to grab her and throw her on the ground, and during the brief little fight or whatever, he ends up swinging at her and hitting her multiple times in the head. And witnesses state that she wasn't fighting back. She was on the floor, covering herself, kind of in a fetal position, covering her head while he was still beating on her. Another witness stated that she wasn't even armed. She was carrying grocery bags. She didn't have no shoes on. She was just walking, minding her own business. The cop didn't need to beat her or anything. It was all on clip, all on the video clip. It was pretty much assault. No reason for it to happen at all. Another story, a family called the cops for help because their son, Keith Bendel, was having a psychotic episode. He's schizophrenic and he's suffering from depression. And so when he called the cops to help calm his son down, the 3 cops appeared at his house, and 2 of them, one of the cops ordered the others to use tasers to subdue him. And while they subdued him to put him in handcuffs, I guess one of the cops got tired and thought it was a waste of time. So the father heard one of the cops stated, "We don't have time for this." Ended up pulling the gun out and shooting his son. The parents were highly mad about it because they ended up killing their son. The mother ended up having suffered a mental breakdown after seeing that, and she had to be treated by the medical staff. And I'm gonna pass it on to Elise.
Okay, 2 other incidents. This one, the first one is Walter Scott shooting by Officer Michael Slager, and this was very recent, just a few months ago. And the police stopped Walter Scott for a regular traffic stop, because one of his taillights was not working, and Walter Scott ended up running for whatever reason. He ended up running, and the police officer took out his gun, shot him, and killed him. Then he stood over the body. And this is wrong because you are not supposed to shoot a fleeing suspect unless they are an immediate threat. He was not an immediate threat because he had no weapons on him. He was unarmed, and the fact that police officers nowadays think it's just okay to shoot is not. You're not supposed to take somebody's life. You already committed a traffic stop. You already know who it is. You already know who to arrest. You just have to make a warrant for his arrest and not just shoot, taking his life, which he has a family that now have to suffer because a police officer wanted to take his life because of some headlights. And the officer was actually charged. This is one of the few cases where most people get justice, and he was actually charged, and it's still in the process right now, but he was charged. And this other incident is Martise Johnson. He's a college student at University of Virginia, and he was being arrested one night. The story is unclear, but some people say he was trying to get into the club with a fake ID. Other people are saying he was using his real ID, and they denied him access. And then for some reason there were cops there, and they tried to arrest him, and he wasn't really resisting. If he was, it wasn't to the point where they needed to bash his head to the ground, and it's very bloody. And right now, Martise Johnson is actually taking legal actions, and he has made it to one of the first courts to make legal actions and say this was unconstitutional because this was unnecessary. And this whole time in the video, you can see the police officers not caring that they're hurting him, and he kept yelling, "I am a student here, why is this happening to me?" And they just kept on about their business, and he is trying to get justice for that. And right here, I have another way police abuse their powers. And this was actually from Instagram. This is in Orlando, Florida, and this person on Instagram was trying to warn the people in her area about this police officer. They took a picture of him, and he was telling a person, a random pedestrian walking down the street, "If you run, I will shoot. It is our policy." And that is wrong. That is not the policy to just shoot somebody if they're running. Okay, they look suspicious. Okay, you should go after them. But you should not just shoot and take their life away because you feel that that is your duty. Police officers are supposed to be here to protect us and to be one of us and to just help us out. But nowadays, they just think that pulling out a gun, they should just kill somebody to protect us while they're the ones committing these crimes and being criminals. There are multiple ways how we can prevent and reduce police brutality, though it is hard because they are the ones in charge making all the decisions and saying what is right and what is wrong. It is hard to prove that, but you can protest like many people do in Ferguson. Though they have not chosen the right methods, you can protest. You can sign petitions on change.org. There's actually a national action against police brutality, and there are 35,000 people that have already signed. To reach 50,000, they still need about 15,000 more. to reach 50,000, but they do have a petition to try and end that and put a stop to that. And other ways besides protesting and petitioning, you can just be careful with what you do. If you see a police officer and you think that you might be a target for whatever reason, just don't run and make sure your hands are in your pocket. Though you should not have to live your life like that, by thinking of the actions that you have to do so severely, those are some things that you can do to make sure that your life is safer. And you can also use the social media and your cell phones that you have nowadays. Just record a police officer. If you see them doing something wrong, record that, and then you know that you have the evidence against them, and that will be an easier way to help end this. In conclusion, we went over what police brutality is. We went over some recent cases that have happened showing the police brutality and the different ways that they abuse their power. I also showed you different ways you can end it, or you can stop it by protesting and signing petitions and whatnot. And
on another note, what we're talking about is police brutality. It doesn't really mean that every police officer is dangerous, because you should be able to trust the police. As far as that Michael Scott case, the officer was charged because, I mean, we don't want to show the video. So in the video, they were recording the police officer, and the victim was running away. He shot him a couple of times in the back, and he went up to him, and he dropped his taser next to his body. And he ended up lying to the other officers. He ended up lying, saying he was trying to grab his weapon to kill him or attack him. But it was a good thing there was a bystander recording. I mean, it wasn't a good thing somebody died, but it was a good thing that the officer was actually charged for what he's done. So as far as all this police brutality that is going, it's not necessarily that every police officer is dangerous. It is more that police brutality actually exists, and that is something everybody has to acknowledge. But that doesn't mean go to the nearest cop and, you know, call them names or try to start anything. Like, you can, like, everybody's afraid of the police, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't be, because they're there to help you, but just not every police officer.
Questions from the audience? Yes, Richard.
I did thoroughly enjoy your speech, but it did seem more like an informative speech or a current events speech. What were you trying to persuade us about? Should we trust cops? Should we distrust? What was your persuasion?
To try to acknowledge that police brutality is an actual thing.
yeah.
I mean, there's cases every day.
Police brutality is real. Hi, I really like this. I'm glad you brought up the Walter Scott video, because I did watch that video, and it just gives you goosebumps. It's awful. And I liked your prevention methods, but what about in the system? Could we at least train police individuals in academies?
Yeah, like, I mean, every police officer is probably in fear of their lives as well. I mean, if I was a police officer and I saw somebody reaching under their seat, the first thing I'm gonna do is grab my gun, because if I have a gun, you know? Like, we all fear each other at the end of the day, because I would be afraid if somebody was doing something suspicious. I mean, I'm not gonna discriminate somebody. Like, I'll do everything I have to do and follow every rule. But as far as suspicious activity goes on, like, I'm in fear of my life as well, just as much as like other people.
And it also depends on like the person in charge, because those people that are high in charge, they're sometimes the corrupt ones. But after the killing of, I forgot his name, but the guy that was choked to death in New York. Yeah, which that was illegal. That was not how you're supposed to chokehold somebody. I know there are different ways to chokehold them and sports and stuff, but that was illegal. And after that incident, the head of that department said he was going to retrain all of their officers to do things the proper way.
We have a question here by Sue.
Okay, so y'all talking a lot about making sure the police are in line. But what about the people who decide to record or tell people about this incident? Because it's so easy nowadays to videotape something, post it on YouTube, edit it just so you get what the cop did and not what the person did to start this. That's so easy nowadays, and people automatically see this, be like, oh, that cop is wrong, that cop is corrupt, and then he gets in trouble even if it wasn't even if he didn't start anything. Like,
That's true.
because we don't know exactly what happened with that picture with the guy with the bloody head. We don't exactly know what happened. We're just getting the information from some students who are at that campus. Maybe he was being, maybe he was arguing back. Maybe he was putting up a fight. But we don't know that. We're just getting the information from them. So I want to know, what do y'all think can be done to make sure that not just the police, but also the people who report these incidents are kept in balance, and make sure that they're not just bringing up fake evidence against a police officer?
I mean, it's more of all just propaganda in media, because in all honesty, there's a whole bunch of cases that go on, but as you can see, like the only ones that they ever displayed on TV are the ones that are, I guess, more racial. You know, they always try to bring out just something that hates police nowadays, and try to make people feel that the police officers are the ones. And as far as like what happens behind the scenes, that's something really not anybody can really control. Like anybody can record it, like you said, and they can say a whole different story than what actually happened. Or the victim could have been the one wrong. But at the end of the day, as far as trying to find a way to actually, I guess, stop that, I see no way. But unless there's like more cameras, or there's like, I mean, police officers, they all have the little camera now here.
Yeah, they
So
just,
they
can-
just instituted
Yeah,
a
they
police
have body
cam.
cams.
Yeah, the body cams,
That's
yes.
an actual solution. That's one solution, but it can't stop like everything.
But then also that ties into back towards Shay's question, and also even though we're trying to implement, how you're saying about working solutions between media and everything, is that how and also how you train them, is that how it calls self-discipline. They have to be self-disciplined for the police officer to actually know what a threat is, not to be easy to pull out a gun on somebody, and also cause self-discipline for yourself to whether you know what is it right or wrong for me to record this, is it really necessary to end this whole solution?
We have a question over
Do
here.
y'all know why Walter Scott, was that his name? Walter Scott, do y'all know why he was running?
I do.
Child support.
Yeah, he has a warrant on child support.
He had a warrant on child support, but he
And so he was running? Oh, poor guy.
He run out his car,
Oh
even
my
though he was just
goodness.
getting a ticket for a headlight.
He was trying to catch a break.
That guy fired a
Okay. Because I saw the video, but I never knew why he was running.
Child support.
Oh, man.
He lost his life after that.
Jonathan, and then we'll go to Ron.
His children are getting child support now.
It's like unnecessary. He walks county.
He hasn't. If he can't pay child support, he doesn't have life insurance.
By the country. And I want to ask, adding on to Snow's question, I believe there is a bias towards cops, because I come in contact with the cops every day because the Chick-fil-A cops are allowed to eat free there. So,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Wow.
yeah, it's only not able to talk one time there sometimes, like a convention, but they're really nice, some of them are, and then there's some that are jerks, I've seen sometimes, but do you believe there's a bias towards them sometimes? Like media, some rappers will go off singing songs about attacking the cops, and I believe there are bad cops, but there are also good cops there as well.
I mean, yeah, of course there's good cops, but like we said before, it's just all the way media portrays everything. Everything is just, oh, white officer shot a black person. You never see anything else besides that. So it's more of a bias, and that's just all they're trying to start, is this war against police, basically.
And I have a
That's really a personal perspective too,
Yeah,
as well.
that's-
That depends how you feel towards the police, whether you think they're good or bad towards other citizens around.
Most things you hear from people pretty much sense out like a feeling of fear of trauma, so nobody's gonna take a chance with that.
Because growing up in the family, we were always taught to respect police like officers and the law. But then one time we have a neighbor who, I think otherwise, and one time a police officer was crossing the street just to expect his son, their son was within our house, he ducked behind bushes just for no reason because they're passing. And it was just, weird. I think it's a society problem. Some people are taught to fear the police, but I think we have to first address the brutality, then encourage to teach the community that they're ethics.
Ryan, you had a question?
I really like your guys' speech. I like the topic and I like your presentation. I was wondering, with your recourse against Shay, when we saw the Ferguson case, regardless of whether or not you think the protester is ornery or violent, if you believe the reports, police or not, during the Ferguson, not trial, but indictment, which didn't happen. It was more than a little bit of a kangaroo court when you look at what happened. The prosecutor, having large ties to a pro-Darren Wilson charity, the political finagling that went on with the governments to get or deny a special prosecutor, heavily based what would be a simple court procedure in the defense's favor. And if you look into it, I couldn't cite everything because it's been a while since I've read up on it. But if you look into it, there's a huge kangaroo court, basically, trying not to get Darren Wilson indicted. And I was wondering if there was any actual potential for legitimate legal recourse against police officers in those scenarios, and what could possibly be done by the people to prevent those scenarios from happening again.
I say to be watchful, really, what is the threat? That's really the main thing to me, what's going on in our police officers' minds, is what's seen by someone walking down the street and how they look like. That goes back towards the Trayvon Martin case. You know, he had a hood on his head, he had a grocery bag in his, you know, and then it was a potential threat to his mind that he's getting ready to rob somebody's house. So that's where quick thinking was to get out there and do something real quick. And you know, it's just all how your emotions and physical look like by doing towards police officers, because they're trained to be able to tell what looks like a threat first to you, and then to react very quickly to that threat.
Nicole, did you have a statement that you wanted to?
Not really, but I'll add something. What, as, I know that you are law enforcement, so as just law-abiding citizens, and you come across a police, whether it be being stopped or on the street or something like that, and you get the sense that this police officer is not a good cop, how do you think that you can deflect police brutality?
First thing I say, especially if you're getting pulled over on the side of the freeway or by the street or something, I say the first thing you do is put your hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Show that you know you're not in any type of movement within your car. You know, you're straight, you're still looking straight forward, roll down your window, find out what he wants, and then from there, you know, we pull out your license registration, make sure, you know, most of us I know all men, we keep our wallets in our back pocket, most of them keep their purses right there next to you on the side, and you know, sometimes they're all, you know, they're open right there, so you know, that doesn't show any type of threat towards a police officer to causing action while you're on the side of the street.
And has this ever happened to you?
Yeah,
Yes.
especially when the cop like flashed the flashlight, like he looked at me really suspicious, because I have this, and I was like going out, but I mean, I wasn't doing anything bad. It's just my sticker was expiring. He was like, where's your, I put my wallet on the thing and my hands on the wheel, but he was like, where's your registration? So I opened the glove compartment, like I reached over and it was like, and I was like, chill, stop doing this.
I'm like, I'm just kidding.
Dion?
I think,
Just
no, I think I agree with that because like, I mean, we look at it from a citizen's point of view, but if you look at it from a police point of view, some of them aren't bad, they do have to be conscious of their lives. Like I saw my dad, they took me to a gun class and they teach you if you do have a firearm in a car, it's in your gun permit. When they come up to your window to make sure you tell them that you have a weapon in this car, is you have a license, what you